Alright, hey guys, Simon here and welcome back to Minecraft Design School. So, we've got a fairly simple one today from TaroTheAvocado. Probably not a real avocado because avocado don't have hands to play Minecraft with. Anyway, so TaroTheAvocado says, hey, this is my single player survival world. It is only about 2 months old and this is what I've done. I've been trying out a lot of different styles in these buildings, but for some reason my arches never come out good. For example, the storage building has a very odd looking arched entrance along with a temple off to the left of it. The arch there on the roof looks a bit odd. My real question is what's going wrong here? I tried to measure my buildings out, but even then they come out looking awkward. You always say math is a big part in architecture, but can you explain how we would incorporate some of that into arches and the way they work? Well, I had a brief look around, and actually, I'll let you guys have a look. So there's a few arches there. There's a few. I think he says that's a problem, and I think he means that. That's the temple there. That's a problem. So he's got some other builds here. No, not too many arches in the other stuff. So I guess he's been trying out a few arches. I'm just gonna run over there. There might be some other things. So there's an obelisk kind of thing there, and then here. Oh wait, is this the temple or is this the temple? So he's got things up here. So I'm just gonna let you guys look at this for a bit, see if you can figure out what's wrong, or if you already know what's wrong. Is that a missing block, or is that? I don't know, am I going crazy? Or is that not meant to be missing? Alright, that's not... There's no arches here, so... Okay, so he's done a few of these, and he's not happy with them. Alright, what's wrong? I know what's... Oh, what's that thing there? He's got a... Oh, that's just a... Is it a mountain? Anyway, never mind. So, the short answer is that they're too thin. They're too thin. Long answer. The long answer is that an arch is a structural thing. In fact, I've got the Wikipedia page open here. In fact, you might want to go to Wikipedia and type in arch. I'm just going to read a few paragraphs here. Okay, so the first paragraph says, an arch is a structure that spans a space, so that's the space, that's the span, and supports structure and weight above it. It supports structure and weight above the arch. Arches appeared as early as the 2nd millennium BC in Mesopotamian brick architecture, and the systematic use started with the ancient Romans, who were the first to apply the technique to a wide range of structures. Alright, so then the next paragraph. Basic concepts. An arch is a pure compression form. I don't know, this is a bit complicated if you don't know anything about engineering. So anyway, I'll just read this. It's a pure compression form. It can span a large area by resolving forces into compressive stresses. That probably makes no sense unless you know what that means. In turn, eliminating tensile stresses. This is sometimes referred to as arch action. As the forces in the arch are carried to the ground, so imagine if there's a, there's a shape like that there. There's a cow underground apparently. The arch will push outward at the base, called thrust. So, okay, I'll describe this later on. As the rise or the height of the arch decreases, so that's the span, that's the rise, because the arch is there, right? As the height decreases, the outward thrust increases. In order to maintain arch action and prevent the arch from collapsing, the thrust needs to be restrained, either with internal ties or external bracing, such as abutments. Does that make any sense to you? I don't know if that does or not. So, and I don't know if you know enough about arches to know how they actually work. What happens is they're purely compressive. So what it means is, if you take a brick, or if you take 2 bricks and you push them together, you can't really crush them unless you're really, really strong, right? Whereas if you take the two bricks and you pull them apart, they're just two bricks. You see what I'm saying? like, like when you have two bricks side by side, there's a lot of compressive strength. Like if you push them, you can't really change them. If you pull them, you just have two bricks. And that's how arches really are. And how arches work is that if all the forces in the arches are pushing together, that's what it means is they span a large area by resolving forces into compressive stresses. So they're all pushing together. If you pull, you can usually pull a piece out of an arch quite easily, whereas you can't really push it together. Like if you push them, it would just sit in an arch. I don't know if that makes sense to you. Go look at the Wikipedia page and look at some of the drawings of what arches look like. Like you can, the shape of the blocks, you can just pull one out quite easily from the top, unless they, imagine they're not really stuck together. Whereas you can't really push them together. I don't know if that makes sense or not. So anyway, so arches usually are massive things, and they're load-bearing structures. I know you, like TaroTheAvocado, what he's, I'm assuming is a guy. I don't know if avocados have gender. So, Taro has, made these kind of decorative arches, but he's made shapes. He hasn't made structures. You see what I mean? Like he's made the line of it, but he hasn't considered that this thing is supposed to defy gravity, right? It's supposed to stand up against gravity, and it's just stone. So that's the long answer. And if you really want to, study arches, I guess you can look it up on the internet or something, how arches work. Maybe type that in. Let me just try typing that in into Google, see what we find. How arches work. Ah, cool. So there's a whole lot of stuff for you to read if you really want to find out. Just type it into Google if you really want to. How arches work, and you'll find more information than you need. But the short answer is, it needs to be structural, or it needs to look structural, and therefore it needs to be more massive than this. So what I would do, in fact you didn't even say to fix this one, you say to fix that one and the other one. Okay, let me just fix this one. We have a few cobblestone slabs. Alright, let me just, well, first of all, it's not just the arch, it's the whole entrance too. Like you see how big these things are, and you see how thin that is. The main entrance really should be bigger than this, or it should be more massive than this. It's too thin here. I don't know if it's unfinished. It might be unfinished. That might be TaroTheAvocado trying to figure that out. In fact, let's just try figuring this out. We need some. Let's make a semi-permanent staircase so we don't pillar up and down too much. Alright, so let's just climb up here. And we kind of have to climb up here as well. So let's say we just add a slab to the top. Just make it thicker. See what that does. How much better is that? Not too much better, but it's more substantial. It doesn't look like, slabs floating in the air. It looks kind of like, it might actually be holding itself up against gravity. Which is it's an important concept. The fact that a building holds itself up against gravity, because that's what they do, right? So let's put that there. So we're gonna make it thicker this way. Oh, how should I do this? Was I doing that? I think I did that on the other side as well. I think I Okay, never mind. I'll fix that later. So let's have it stick out a little bit, see what that looks like. So the basic idea is we're going to make this more substantial. Oh, I'm using diamond, so it's faster than I'm used to. Yeah, so we need a few more blocks on this side. Let's put a staircase on this side as well. Although, can't really... There we go. Let's just do that. Okay, so maybe the cobble is not the best material to use. And it's not even an arch anymore, it's just kind of a gable. So that's not very good, is it? So if you want an arch, you need to figure out what shape it is. I'm just looking back at the Wikipedia page. Do you want a semicircular? Do you want it... Okay, do you want it a segment of a circle? A semicircle? You can have like a pointed arch? But whatever it is, I think the key is to make it thicker, make it more substantial. I don't know if that's good or not. I think it's up to you to decide whether you want, like, what shape you want. I don't know if you use, like, often I use Microsoft Paint. I just go into Paint and just draw circles in there, and then I use the pixels to help me out. You might want to try that. It's not easy to visualize. Like, Minecraft is inherently squares, right? We know that. So it's difficult to just visualize circles and then angles and slopes and things in a world that's just completely squares. So, you know, it's not sometimes I use paints and then I use other things. I don't really draw, but you can draw as well, just to get out of the squares of Minecraft. You know, if you want to figure out circles and things, you know, and it's stuff like that. What I would do, and I mean, you know, you're not me, so you might do something else. But I need food. What I would do is I would here we go. I would do stairs. 64 is probably too much. Alright, so in this case I would probably, again, like, you know, you have the corner to corner thing, which is, I mean, it looks odd. It looks too Minecraft. It doesn't look like anything you would expect in the real world. If you have blocks of stone like this in the real world, obviously it's not going to stand up, because, you know, this is touching corner to corner. It doesn't look like it's a viable structure, right? So let's see. Don't do that. Do that. See, I will just thicken up. I know you don't want it too thick. Well, I'm assuming you don't want it too thick. So I'm just going to use the stairs there, and then now we have an option. We can try that. See, even that, I mean, it's exactly the same shape, or, you know, the underlying shape is the same, but it actually looks like a continuous stone arch, whereas that's just kind of blocks corner to corner. You see how that's a bit better? That's what I would do. I mean, it's not a huge, you know, it's not a huge revelation. It just seems maybe you haven't quite, you know, considered that, but hopefully now that I've pointed it out, it'll be easier. That is still not very good, but I'm not sure what shape you want that to be. So let's just leave that there for now and consider this one. These aren't really arches, or, you know, when I look at them, I don't think they're arches. They're more just like roofs, like they're gables. So they're two mostly flat shapes. You know, it's like a triangle, or like in two cards stacked up. You know, that looks kind of okay, but I mean, using slabs there, I don't know why you don't, you know, it's just smooth it out a little bit. It's not, I don't think it's too difficult to do that. Maybe you just haven't kind of thought about it that way, but let me just, you know, just add one there and one there. and then add one there, and then we need some at the top as well, don't we? Let me just you know, add one there and one there, and then one there and one there, maybe one there as well. I mean, you've got stair blocks and you've got slabs. You can use these things to just smooth it out a little bit. Again, it's not really an arch, is it? Like, there's no, you know, it's not circular. It's more just a triangle. But, you know, even a triangle is fine. Like, don't be afraid to make things massive. Like, don't be afraid to make things thick and heavy and, you know, and massive. Like you've got some, you know, the columns, the fact that the columns are thicker than the roof, it's a little bit strange. I mean, it's not, usually you don't have that. You don't see that in architecture. Usually the roof has to be solid. You know, it has to look like a thing. I know this, you know, there's a difference between structure and how it looks. Sometimes, you know, it'll just look like the structure, but sometimes it won't. But usually, I don't know if that makes sense or not. I'm just kind of saying words. I hope that makes sense. But usually, like when you design, or when architects design buildings, they'll emphasize the parts of the building. Like the roof will be a complete shape, and then the wall will be a complete shape, and then the foundation will be a complete shape, if that makes sense. So here, like, you know, there's the columns. We can see the columns. Okay, that's a complete shape, or it's a complete set of shapes. And then the roof it's all bits and pieces. You see how that works? Like it's not really there when you look at it. I mean, sometimes you might want to do that, but here it seems like there's no roof. You see what I'm saying? Like it's missing a roof. Let me just, I know you didn't ask me to fix any of this stuff, but let me just kind of think about this and you know, are you sure you don't want that to be a solid line? You know, are you sure you want that to be all bits and pieces like that? I don't think I have enough slabs. Okay, so let me just, oh, I do have slabs, yes. Let me just make that, you know, basically I just filled in that line, right? So now there's a straight line, it's not all bits and pieces, there's a line. It's a bit thin still, but at least there's a line there, right? There's a solid horizontal line marking one level. So now those two don't blend together. You can see the other side, right? You know, they just kind of all merged together, and then there's just columns. Whereas there's, you know, the floor, the columns, and the floor. It's much clearer that way. And what I would do, I mean, if it were up to me, I would make another line there, so then it would be roof, columns, floor, column, floor. You know, because those are your basic elements in that shape. And so, you know, when you do it like that, unless you really want to make it appear as though there's no solid floor there, but I don't know why you would do that. Now, why would you choose to do that? I mean, sometimes in architecture, like, you create sorts of illusions. The old World Trade Center, I don't know if you guys remember that. You can probably Google that as well. But they were basically like really tall squares. Like they were square plan and then a tall rectangle. And what they did there was the ground floor and then the ceiling. But then in between, this huge, long kind of rectangle, they didn't mark the floors. Like, they emphasized the vertical lines, and there were a lot of vertical lines. And then there were no horizontal lines, really. Or the horizontal lines were behind the vertical lines. So that way they emphasized the verticality. So then, you know, it was a really tall building. And not only was the building inherently tall, they made all these vertical lines, so it looks even taller, right? So that was, you know, it's not a very interesting shape, it's just a rectangle. But they did that to make it a little bit interesting. So when you can choose the lines to convey these different things. I don't know. Anyway, up to you. I know you didn't really ask me to. You just asked for the arches. There, like you're copying a castle, and I'm guessing. With the castle, there's the top, and then there's the wall, and then usually there's the bottom. You've done you've marked the corners as well, which is cool. So there, like you've actually marked out, the different things. So that is a shape. That is a shape. Not only is it inherently a shape, but you've kind of drawn the outlines of that shape. And there, so the shapes in this thing is quite clear. In the middle, you've got the crenellations. Is that what they're called? Anyway, you've got the little bits there, but that's not a problem because the main shapes are quite clear. The stuff in between is less clear, but that's the kind of the point, right? So you don't want to distract from the main shapes, as it were. Yeah, I think that's about it. Let me just read what you wrote again. I can find it. Yeah, so you only really asked about the arches. There are cows in the ground. Either that or they're invisible. Yeah, so don't be afraid to make the roof a little bit massive. Just more stuff. Make it look heavier, make it look more substantial. I mean, if we go back and look at the earlier stuff, like the corner-to-corner stuff, I would really avoid it. I know sometimes you do that just because you don't want just huge, thick things. You don't want to make it too massive, but yeah, it doesn't look right. I mean, I know, there's no real gravity in Minecraft, so who cares, right? But then you want it to look right, and by looking right, we mean it feels like something we might see in the real world, which means there's gravity in the real world, which means you need things to be solid, not corner to corner, if you want it to not look weird. I mean, sometimes you might want to make things look weird, in which case you can, but if you don't, then things need to be more substantial. And things like you can always consider what's important and what's not. And in this case, like the main entrance is more important than the side bits, and therefore the main entrance should be more massive than the side bits. You see what I mean? You've already made it taller, which is good. You've made it stick out a little bit, which is good. But then the roof was really, really thin. Even thinner than those things, which is kind of strange. You see, so if the main entrance is the dominant part of the building, then make every aspect of it just bigger and more massive and out front. Just make it stand out. So that includes the ceiling and the arches and whatever it is, and whatever else there is. Is that about it? I think that's about all I have to say. So that's a village. I might have a look at this building. I didn't really can explore a bit in our spare time. Interesting stuff here, though. Interesting stuff here, but I feel like I haven't actually said that much. But at the same time, maybe that's all we need for now, at least. Maybe it's just one of those things where once you see it the way someone else sees it, and then everything makes sense, and then everything else follows. Hopefully that's the case here. If not, you can ask more questions. You can always ask more questions, and I can answer them if you want. Right, so there's nothing inside. That's kind of disappointing. It looked kind of promising from the outside, and the inside's empty. Alright, I'll leave the video here, and yeah, if you have any more questions, feel free to ask. Just don't be afraid to just make things big. Yeah. This is SCKChui's Minecraft Design School. You send me your questions and your save file or your server IP address, and I will give you architecture design advice and feedback. See the video description for more details. Seriously, you should read the description before you send me anything. Thank you.